Imagine your company hires a new employee. On their first day, they're handed a training manual, a safety guide, company policies, standard operating procedures, and a stack of documentation they are expected to understand. Now, let me ask you a question. How much of that information do you think most people actually remember? Probably not as much as we'd like. That's why I wanted to test something interesting. What if AI could take those documents and turn them into a podcast-style conversation? That's exactly what we're looking at today. The tool is called NotebookLM. And while many people think of it as a research tool, I think it may have some surprisingly useful business applications. Let's take a look. One of the biggest challenges organizations face isn't creating information. It's helping people consume information. Most companies already have documentation. The problem is that documentation often sits unread. Training manuals, process guides, meeting notes, project documentation, employee handbooks. The information exists, but getting people to engage with it can be difficult. That's where NotebookLM becomes interesting. NotebookLM allows you to upload documents and interact with them using AI. You can ask questions, generate summaries, create study guides, and perhaps most interestingly, generate podcast-style discussions based on your content. Think about that for a moment. Instead of reading a 20-page document, someone could listen to an AI-generated discussion about the material. That's a very different experience. Now, before we get too excited, let's talk about what this tool actually does. NotebookLM doesn't magically create new information. It works with information you provide. You upload documents, reports, notes, policies, training materials, project documentation, and the AI uses those materials as its knowledge base. That means the responses stay focused on your content. This is important because it helps reduce the chances of AI simply making things up. Now let's talk about a business example. Let's imagine a company has a warehouse safety guide. The guide covers forklift safety, housekeeping expectations, emergency procedures, incident reporting, equipment inspections. Instead of asking employees to only read the guide, the company could use NotebookLM to create additional learning resources. Employees could ask questions, request summaries, generate study materials, or even listen to a podcast-style discussion covering the key concepts. That doesn't replace training. It supplements training. And that's an important distinction. One thing I've learned while studying automation is that the best technologies often don't replace existing processes. They improve them. Now let's talk about onboarding. Most organizations have some type of onboarding process. And most onboarding processes involve a lot of information. Policies, benefits, procedures, systems, expectations. The challenge isn't creating that information. The challenge is helping people absorb it. NotebookLM provides another way to interact with those materials. Different people learn differently. Some prefer reading, some prefer visual content, some prefer discussion, some prefer audio. Tools like this give organizations more options. Another interesting use case is project management. Imagine finishing a major project. The team creates documentation, lessons learned, process notes, recommendations. Instead of leaving that information buried in a folder somewhere, NotebookLM can help make it more accessible. Team members can ask questions, generate summaries, and review key concepts without reading hundreds of pages. That's valuable, because knowledge only creates value when people can actually use it. Now let's talk about leadership development. Organizations spend significant resources on leadership training. Books, articles, training programs, development plans. NotebookLM could potentially help leaders engage with those materials in new ways. Imagine uploading leadership content and generating summaries, discussions, and study guides tailored to your needs. That's a pretty powerful concept. Now, let's talk about what impressed me most. Honestly, it's the podcast feature. Not because it's replacing human podcasts, but because it creates another way to consume information. And that's what makes this tool interesting. We're not talking about entertainment. We're talking about learning. We're talking about training. We're talking about communication. And we're talking about knowledge transfer. Those are real business challenges. Now, is NotebookLM perfect? Of course not. No AI tool is. Information still needs to be reviewed. Training still requires human involvement. Organizations still need subject matter experts. And important decisions should never rely entirely on AI-generated content. But that's not really the point. The point is that tools like this can help people access information more efficiently. And that's where the value begins. One thing I often say on this channel is that AI works best when it helps people do their jobs more effectively. I think NotebookLM fits that description. It's not replacing expertise. It's helping people interact with expertise. And that's a meaningful difference. As AI continues to evolve, I think we'll see more tools focused on helping organizations learn, communicate, and share knowledge. NotebookLM feels like an early example of that trend. And honestly, I think it's worth paying attention to. Before I wrap up, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you had access to a tool that could turn documents into podcast-style discussions, how would you use it? Employee training, onboarding, leadership development, project management, something else? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your ideas. And if there's another AI tool you'd like me to test and review, let me know. There's a good chance it will become a future video. If you enjoy practical AI tools, workflow automation, business systems, productivity, and real-world business applications, consider subscribing. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'll see you in the next video.